think it's going slow. Every action I do, it takes time to take effect. Okay. So can you see my screen with the Xilinx window? Hello, Palash, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So the screen is visible.
Yeah.
So the plan for today is that I have received requests from some students that using the software is not very straightforward. So they want some more helping hand in doing that. So today I will be doing 3 to 4 small examples just to explore the features of the Xilinx ISE software. Okay. And after that, we'll give you the assignment. So these sessions will help you to know the software well. What you all can do is in parallel, you can open your own Xilinx softwares on your laptops, and as we proceed, you can try it out there, or you can just note down. I'm recording the video. I'll also try to upload the video so for you to refer to it later also. Okay. So we'll start with today's set of small example as a demonstration of Xilinx. Okay, so when you open the Xilinx project navigator, you have to go to the file and say new project. Then type your project name here. So I have said demo underscore lab 2 because I want this as the name of my lab 2 project. Okay, then just click next. When you do this, I already have one. So, okay. And if you click next, then this window, it tells you that the project you're going to do will be downloaded on what type of FPGA. So what is the target device? So these are the places where you can give Vertex, Spartex and Spartan and Zinc and all those types of boards can be selected using this and so on. And then it just creates something. So I'm just creating. When you click finish, you get a blank window like this, and this is your project which is created, and this is the device name on which finally the file can be downloaded to be executed on the FPGA board. However, as we are not on campus, we are going to skip this step, but then the target device has to be given. Okay, so when you have to start doing the coding, you have to right click and say new source and pick up a Verilog file here. And then those who are finding it difficult can follow it. Those who already know can continue the practice in the background. Okay. So I'm just giving some file name here of 4-bit adder which you have already created last time. But today we will try to write more high-level constructs for this 4-bit high-level. Okay, so that's the name of my file. Here you can give the types of inputs and outputs. A is one input, B is one input, carry in is another one, and I'm just going to get a bigger value of the sum. Okay, so I think if I click here. MSPs, how many bits do I have? 3. So this is a 3-bit number. This is a single one, and your output is a 4-bit output. Okay. So once you give this, if you have more than one wire, then you have to give click on the bus small square box and then give the bit. Otherwise, for Cin, I did not give anything. By default, it is a 1-bit variable, and this is a single one-line program which uses the assign statement. I'm going to say assign sum equal to A plus B plus Cn. Okay, you have already done the full adder last time, so this is a high-level method of doing the same thing. Okay, so this is all the program is. And so once you save it, it will do the parsing. And here in the left corner is the implementation. This is already my top level design. Suppose you have several such files, you have to right click and say uh, this one, set as top module. Okay. So now I'll go at this in this box here and click on the design, synthesize XST, and in the view RTL. So I can just right click and say run. So it first checks the design and then synthesizes it. Okay. So when this RTL schematic window comes, you just pick up which one you want to do, then just say create schematic, and it gives you this box. When you double click on it, it should give you the gate level design. But because this is a high level, huh?
There's a lag.
Okay. Okay.
Now the screen is done. RTL has come, ma'am.
Okay. So no, that's all. This is not expanding because I think there was some error here. There's a warning. Some mistake in my coding.
Some is output now.
Oh yes, thank you. I was just some was declared as input. That's right. Save and synthesize. Right. Okay, so once that is done, you can use the zoom in and zoom out buttons to see what is happening. But because we wrote a high level code, it is not showing us this. If you write a more structural design, it will actually use the gate netlist. But internally, it has synthesized this. So it has got these three inputs and then one complex output. Okay, so using a simple plus minus addition and subtraction type of symbols, we can also design adders. Okay, so that's one example. We will do one more. Excuse me. So I'll just show you one way of programming which may not work. So we also need to know what is correct syntax, what is the wrong syntax. I'm just saying gates. I'm going to draw a circuit or have a circuit with say 2 gates or two AND gates. So I'll skip this here step and I will write in the file directly. So here I have an input A, B, output is Y. Now I'm going to use assign statements. Assign Y equal to A. So you can try to infer the circuit which this might create. Okay. So I want you to do this inference. Okay. Clear? Y is equal to A, Y is equal to Y and B, Y is equal to Y and C. So what is happening here? Overall, what is the answer? It's A and B and C, correct? So I'm going to AND these three and give as output Y, and Y is my output Y. Okay, so syntactically this is a correct program. And to synthesize this, I am in the top left frame. Right click and then say set it as a top module. Now it says that you had previously a different top module. Right now you want this one, so you can say yes, I want to change the top module. Okay, then I'll do the same thing in the synthesize XST. Right click and then say view RTL schematic. Okay, now what did we get? An error. So this says this remains a black box, and what is this is the warning. What did it say? Number of errors. Net Y is already driven by input A. Okay, so I have purposely written this code to show you what works and what doesn't work. So what have we done? We have used the assign statement, which is a continuous assignment. So these three assign statements are going to be synthesized in parallel. So first line is saying you make Y equal to A. Second line is saying you make Y equal to Y and with B. So Y is a single variable, so it's a single wire and it is being fed with inputs from three different sources, from three different statements. Okay, so this one drives Y with A. Okay, and here this one drives Y with Y and another variable B. And this one is going to drive Y with Y and another variable C. Okay, so the synthesizer is confused about how should the output be generated, because we cannot join just wires. We can always fork wires, but we cannot join wires. And these are three different variables getting connected to the same output wire Y. So it says net Y is already driven by the port A. So if A is connected to Y, you cannot connect anything else to Y. So that's why this design could not be synthesized. So I'm just going to comment this out, right? Fine. So I have just used our C style comments and said that this cannot be synthesized. Now, but I want to try another way. There is a statement called always, and always says that whatever is written after this, the list of parameters, whenever they change, those signals change, the statements below this will be executed. So we have always begin and end, and always what? So I can say always at A. If I say this, it means that whenever variable A changes, you have to do this work. But now I want this always statement to work on all possible variables, that is all inputs. So I can say A or B or C. I can write it like this. Or the alternative is I can just put a star which says on any variable in the input list. Always at star. And here I'm just going to copy those above sentences. Okay, so the same things I have copied. Now let us see what this has to do. Okay, so we've got a legitimate error which says, yeah, there's a mistake in my code which says that procedural assignment to a non-register Y is not permitted. So this always statement is going to execute these statements only when the conditional inputs here will change. I have put a star here, but the synthesizer doesn't know what all variables will come here. So it assumes that it is at every instant in time, this is not going to run. So it'll only run provided some condition is met. And suppose that condition is not met, what should happen? The hardware has to remember the value of Y which was already there, because some value is there and the value is updated when the condition is met the next time. Okay, so if the condition is not changing, you have to keep on remembering the Y. So this Y has to be stored in the register. This is unlike the green part here. here these assign statements, no matter whatever the condition is, they are always every instant of time being evaluated, and so y need not be stored because it will be computed each time instant, whereas in always you have to store it. So whenever I'm using an always, the register outputs have to be defined as a register data type. Okay, right. Now let's again synthesize that. Okay. Right. So because this was different data type called register, and the synthesizer could then infer that this is a 3-input AND, whereas the previous one, it was treating them as 3 different wires, and then it could not join the 3 wires. In the previous design, this C was connected to a Y, B was also connected to a Y. So this AND gate was missing and there was a single wire. So all these 3 wires at the input were trying to merge into one wire, which is not allowed. That's why the previous way of programming was giving us a synthesis error, and this one could easily do that. Okay, so this part was synthesized properly. Okay, now we will do one more example. I want to right. Okay, do one thing. I'll just skip one example. One is that 1-bit comparator, which I had written in the previous class. Let me write it in the notepad. See, 1-bit comparator. I hope you can read the notepad. So 1-bit comparator has got input I0, I1, and output is EQ. Okay. And then we had used some temporary variables P0, P1 to do this. Okay, so as a self-study assignment, you can do this 1-bit comparator using assign and using always statement. Okay, so as a homework assignment, you can design the 1-bit comparator which has got this inputs I0, I1, output EQ. You can use some temporary variables for internal usage, and write 2 types of programs, one which uses assign and the another which uses always statement. Okay, and then you synthesize and also write the test bench. So this is a practice problem for you. You can try it out later on. Not in today's lab session, sometime, some other time. Okay, clear? So I will move on. So that's your assignment, homework assignment. Next is we'll do one more example where we'll explore the test bench and the waveform features of Xilinx. Okay, I'll add one more file. And so what I'm doing is showing you each and every different features along with exploring different syntax patterns. Okay, so each time I'm taking a new syntax and we are exploring a feature. So concatenate is the next one. Program name called concatenate. It's a Verilog file, and again to demonstrate this, I will just call this as A1, input A1, A4, which is a 4-bit input, and I have B8 and D8. These are my outputs. Let me make them. Last time I made this mistake. These are my output variables. Now A1 is a single bit, so no problem. A4 is a 4-bit variable, so I click this bus selection, and I'll say this is a 4-bit variable, so this becomes 3. B8 is a 8-bit variable, and again C8 and D8. Okay, so A1 1-bit, A4 4-bit, B8, C8, D8, 8-bit variables. Palash, is there a lag or synchronization is fine?
Now it is okay this
No,
time.
okay. Okay, so this file is created. Okay, now very simple. I'm just going to explore the concatenate feature. I have got 3 outputs, B8, C8, and D8. Okay, now I'm going to construct this B8 using 4-bit variables. So my 4-bit variable is I have A4 with me. So how can I use A4 to do this? Here I will say A4, curly bracket A4 and another A4. Okay. So this is the curly bracket and inside that all this. So this curly bracket is the concatenation operator. Okay, so I have used the same A4 to create B8. Now for C8, let us do something fancy. I will use A1, which is a 1-bit variable. Let me use it once more. Then let me use A4. Okay. Now, can I use the previous B8, or maybe let me do it in the next one. Here I will also use a constant. So I will use a 2-bit constant. Okay, so a concatenation can happen across any number of parameters. So here I'm using 4, the same variable twice, A4, and then a 2-bit constant. Then here I will use the previous 2. Okay, I have created B8 and C8. I will use them to create D8. So I'm using a B8 and I'm going to pick up the last 4 bits from it, and in C8 again the last 4, or maybe let us do the other way. B8 we can take 7:4, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes, 4 bits. Okay, so you can pick up any portion of an array and then use that in the concatenation. Right, so this is that. We will save it, and of course there's no need to synthesize here. The main feature is on simulation, so I will go in the simulation part. This one, simulation, click on concatenate, open the iSim simulator, and then check behavioral syntax, and then simulate the behavioral model. Okay, so this one, it opens the iSim window with these waveforms. Okay, so initially there is nothing because I had used the constant to create C8. That constant 00 is seen, otherwise everything is in high impedance state because they are not connected wires. Okay, so we can of course go here and do, but let us first write the test bench because writing here is like slightly tedious. So we'll first explore the test bench option. So I will close this and add a test bench to my program. Add source and say Verilog test fixture, and then I am adding that for my concatenate program. Concatenate underscore test is the name of my file. And it will ask you this test case is for which program. So I'm going to click the correct one, click next, and it gives you the full template, which is almost ready for you with all the inputs and outputs. It never has the intermediate or internal variables. So it starts with the initial, begin, and end. Okay, and here it has already given us both of them as 0. Instead of waiting for 100 nanoseconds, I've reduced the delay to this, and I will simply say A1. I'll keep A1 to 0, and I will make A4 to some other value. 4-bit number. Okay, fine. So I have, this is how I have given a value in the test case. Now I'll again go and do the simulation. Okay, so this time, because we've given the values, we have some answer here. Now this simply expands too long, so you have to click this to make it more readable, and then bring the yellow line all the way to 0 nanoseconds. And I'll expand using the plus sign here. I'm expanding because we want to observe what happens from 0 nanoseconds. Then after 10 nanoseconds, we had changed the input. So at 0, here nothing is there. Okay. Then when we go to time, when we initialize it, we had put everything 0. Then what happens? All our statements will result in the value of 0. After 10 nanoseconds, your inputs have changed. A has changed. A4 has changed, and that has resulted into B8, C8, and D8 also to change. And because we do not give anything else after this, henceforth till the end of the simulation, the inputs will remain same. Okay, and then the output also doesn't change. Okay. Suppose now I want to see it has done up to 1000 nanoseconds and the simulator stopped. Suppose I want to change the input at this instant. Okay. Now let us see by giving it here. Okay. So click on this. This is my input. Just say right click. You manage the yellow line here to indicate the time, and right click and say force constant. So this is a constant variable and I want to make it 1. Okay, it was 0 all the time, so I'm just making it 1. Say apply. Okay. Okay, so we are at this yellow line and we are just giving the inputs. We have not yet started anything, so the value will not change. We are just setting the value. And A4 I am making as 4 ones. Okay. We have given these inputs. They are not reflected here, but you can see they are seen in this console window at the bottom. Whatever inputs we are giving. So they have come here. Now I want these inputs to have effect. So you go to this console window at the bottom and then say run space 20. Okay. So the unit is in nanoseconds. So run space 20 and then press enter. Okay. Something has happened in the waveform. So if you click on this plus sign to zoom. See here, for 20 nanoseconds, we have given this input. So it comes here. Here it was the old values. At this instant, I gave the new one. So you can see the value column changing the values, and then the effect comes. So what have we seen here? That using the waveform, you can give further input. So I'll leave A1 as it is. I'll again try to change this. I'll force constant and give some other value, say 0, 0, 1, 1. Okay, so I've given the values, but it is yet to run. So again, I'll go to the console window and then say run, let us say for 40. Okay. So this time, if you see, my cursor was here, the yellow line. And at this instant, we gave the new values and we have the effect on the output. And for 40 seconds, or 40 nanoseconds it ran. So you can see this is 20 and here it is up to, so from 10 to 20, so 40 time units it has advanced with the new set of inputs and then it stops execution. Okay, so this is how you can give values in using this area also and run using the console. Okay. So that was a demonstration of the waveform, and the monitor command we did not learn, right? So let's do the monitor command. Okay, I'll do that in the next example. I'll close this window and okay. So now in the next example, we will explore the synthesis aspect. So I have 2 more examples. This one, which I'll start right now, it will demonstrate the various features of the synthesized design. And after that, the example I'm going to discuss will be related to today's assignment. Okay. add new source, Verilog file, and using conditional statement. Again, we are exploring one syntax type and one Xilinx feature. Okay, so inputs A0, B0, EQ, and max. Okay. So this is going to demonstrate the conditional operators, and we are just going to check whether A0 and B0 are equal. So EQ output will say whether A0 bit is same as B0 bit, and max will tell which of these two numbers is the max number. Of course, here it's the one which is 1 will come as the max, but just to give you a flavor of the conditional assignment. All right, so here I am saying assign. We will do the equality first. EQ equal to. Okay, so when will EQ be 1? EQ will be 1 if A0 is 0 and B0 is 0. Correct? Tilde A0 and tilde B0. If both of them are 0, then your output has.
It is lagging.
Okay.
It has come.
Okay. So I am writing assign EQ equal to A0 bar and B0 bar. Both of them are 0. Then we put this question mark. Okay. And then this is similar to a C language conditional assignment. Both are 0. Then my output has to be 1. So it has to be 1 bit with a value of 1. Okay. This, then a semicolon. If this is not true, okay, so please try to understand. This is my condition. If this condition is true, output this. Otherwise, output something which I will write here. Okay, so this is the if, then, and the else part. Okay, now in the else part, I don't have a straightforward answer. I have to also check for A0 and B0 both being 1. Okay, so that I will write it maybe in the next line to make it more neater. We'll check for A0 and B0. If both are true, then even then I have to make the output as 1. Correct. Now we can directly put a else, but just for practice we can say if A0 is 1 and B0 is 0, then you give 1 bit output 0. All options exhausted, and the last one is 1 bit 0 and a semicolon at the end. So the generic syntax is you have output equal to condition query statement 1 colon statement 2 and the semicolon. Okay, so your output depends on the condition. If the condition is true, then you take this, otherwise you take this. So this is on a, if it is true, you true statement, and this is for the false statement. Okay. And we'll just do quickly the other one. I have max also to be done. Assign max equal to, I'm just checking if A0 is greater than B0. If A0 bit is greater than B0, question mark, output is A0, otherwise output is B0. Here it is it's just being binary, your output is always going to be 1. It's not identifying the variable which is high, it is giving out the value which is higher. So always the value of 1 will be seen in the output map. Here we are not going to see the waveform. We'll just try to synthesize this design. So I'll go to the implementation tab, make the conditional module as my top module, set as top module, and then synthesize RTL. What went wrong? Mistake.
Ma'am, it should be question mark.
Here. Okay. Line 21, 30. I think done. Okay, save. Yeah. All right, so let me zoom inside this. Okay, so this is our design. Now let us try to understand what's there. This is the RTL schematic. At the top, you click on this component, and at the bottom, in this bottom window, you will know what this thing is. Okay, so this is an AND gate. A0, B0, and it is this is the name of its instance, but the inputs are A0 and B0. And the output is O1 or _1_1. Then the second one, again at the bottom you can see inputs A0, B0. This is the name of the AND gate. So these are two AND gates. And see, there's a bubble here which says that if this is 0 and this is 0, if both are 1, this checks if both are 0, and that output of this goes to a mux. The output of this also goes to a mux. And I am going back to my Verilog file just to understand what has happened. This is the EQ module. In the equality checker, I'm giving the output 1 if both of them are 0, both of them are 1. Okay, and option 1, option 2, option 3, option 4, I have got 4 options, and so it is going to synthesize a mux out of it, and exactly one option will be true. So this is the mux it has synthesized, and the third input is coming from ground, because once these two are false, the other two inputs have got no meaning, so it has connected it to a ground variable. Okay, so it has made the value equal to 0. So that is the mux, and here this is the output which goes to the variable EQ. Okay, right. So for the conditional statements which we wrote one below the other were synthesized as a mux with these corresponding inputs. Now let us see for the max function. So the max is also synthesized as a mux. It has got 3 inputs. So let us see what those inputs are. So I'm just clicking on the first wire. It is coming from a comparator. The second wire is coming. Where is it going to? Can we zoom a little? Okay, let me do it this way. The second blue line is B0. And look at this. This is data 0. This is data 1. So one is B0 and one is B1, and one is the select input. And the select input is going to choose between A and B, depending on which one is bigger. And that's this blue line currently, which you can see. What happened? This one. This is a select line of the mux that is coming from a comparator which checks for data A and B. So 2 inputs, it checks which is bigger or which is less, and then accordingly sends an output to the mux, which is its select line. Okay. Okay, now let's see here. For the previous mux, there was an issue. It has made the first condition A0 and B0 as a select line, and if that is selected, it results into something, and these two are the data lines. Okay, so this is how you have to understand what design it has synthesized for you. Okay, So have a practice of seeing this. You can also go to look at where my mouse pointer is. This is the design summary here. It is always in the leftmost window or tab of this box. So this design summary tells about the type of design which is synthesized. In this, you can check this window comes with many links. Overall design summary is giving here how many lookup tables are used and how many IOs and so on. So that is given. More details about the target device and so on is there at the top. And at the bottom of this, you can check the synthesis report. So I'll click on this. So this opens the synthesis report, which is a detailed timing analysis of your program. So it says to do this design, the CPU on my laptop used 0.15 seconds to do the work. And in this whole report, it is going to give you a summary of how it's synthesized and what are the specific outputs. What is the clocking information, if it is a sequential circuit and so on. So you can have a practice of having a look at all these values here. Okay. So here in the part called HDL synthesis, in this section, it tells you what all it synthesized. So it has inferred one comparator from your code and it has inferred two multiplexers. The remaining thing it doesn't say, the AND gates and all are very straightforward. So it has inferred a mux and a comparator, which we just now saw in the RTL report. Okay. And then more statistics. Comparator is a 1-bit comparator which checks for greater than, and it has used 2:1 multiplexers. With quantity 2. So it has two 2:1 multiplexers. And again, more advanced features are written here. If there is a clock, then it will write about the clock. This is in the FPGA part, how many LUTs it has used. And there is no clock in this. So no clock signals are found in this design. Whenever a clock will come in the sequential part, you'll be able to see it here. And the total timing summary. So this is also important. The timing summary. It says that it has found a maximum combinational path delay of 6.005 nanoseconds at a given technology. So those whatever are the default settings at that technology node, it has created a 6.005 nanoseconds worth of timing will be taken by this circuit when it is synthesized. Okay. And here is the more detailed analysis of the timing. How is the 6 nanoseconds spent? It says from input to output. The gate delays are this. So the A0 and the mux delay is 1. And the input to the mux is going to take this much time. And then the out from the mux output to the final output. So this is the breakup of each component, how much time it is taking. And here it is saying that the logic, which is the computation, the gate delays, the mux and everything is taking 4.49 nanoseconds for the logic part, and the wires, which is the routing, the time to take the signal from one gate to the other is taking 1.5 nanoseconds. So 75% time is taken by the logic and 25% by the routing, that is the wires. Okay, and then this is your normal execution time. This is 6 seconds. This takes my PC's how much time my PC required to do this execution, and this is 6 nanoseconds is the predicted execution time of the circuit, and this 6 seconds is the time it took to synthesize the design. All right, so this was a demonstration of how in this example, I tried to show you how to read the RTL, how to understand the design circuit and so on. Okay, and I think for the same example, you can try out waveforms. So this was one thing which I had written for you. And currently in the conditional example, you can write test bench. Then or also set values directly in the sim simulator. The A0 signal, if we have always used, do I have that? No, wait a minute. Simulation. Concatenate I have. Let me show you one more small feature. That you can force constants, but you can also force a constant to toggle every time. So this is a single bit variable. I want it to be a particular way, but in the execution, for example, when you will simulate clock, you will have to use this feature. Otherwise, also you can make one of your 1-bit variables as a clock. So in this drop-down list, you have a force constant and a force clock. So I can use this force clock feature. It says leading edge and trailing edge. So I want to start it with a 0, end with a 1. And it says when do you want to start it, when do you want to stop this clock. So this clock will go on high, low, and when should I stop. So you can give an ending time unit. Say after 500 nanoseconds you stop this and so on. And the duty cycle is the percentage of time the clock is high. So 50% is half time high, half time low, and period is how long should the pulse be. So I'm just saying period equal to 10 because it will be 5 nanoseconds high and 5 nanoseconds low. Okay, so I'll say apply and say okay. And just to let us say where did it start from? I don't recollect. Here it started. Look at that. Because we had already executed till this time. Here, if you can see this one, A, the value of A, I said it is a clock which is high for 5. See, it is 5 nanoseconds, and then this is 5. Okay, so it will continue like this, and accordingly the outputs will also, these are the outputs. See, these outputs will also keep changing because my A is acting as a clock. So I can even run another 50, and you can see that A keeps changing, and for the same value of inputs it can, right? So this is a beautiful clock waveform created, and depending on the other inputs the outputs will change. Okay, so this is how you can change variables, use the console window for updation and so on. Good. Okay, so so this is, I think I've given you enough examples for understanding the Xilinx software. I will maybe finish today's, okay, yeah, one more example is left for today's assignment. So I'll stop this recording, and the assignment video I will make as a new one. Teams window.